Introduction and turn to the camera and say, hello everyone, here we are again. This time I'm interviewing Cristina Barbosa, who is an RJ, you are an RJ practitioner. Facilitator.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can remember that.
Practitioner.
I get it wrong. I get it wrong every time. So
you are not still recording, right?
I am recording, but it doesn't really matter. No, I will edit this bit out.
Good.
We'll just
remove my coffee from the camera.
Yeah. We're gonna have people photobombing this as well at the back, but it doesn't really matter.
Or we can go to the other side.
It's okay. I think we're okay here. We get good lighting as well, because if we do it the other way, it'll be different.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try. We can repeat as many times as you like. So if there's something that you don't like, or even bits that you want me to edit out, I can just cut them off and leave them out. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Here we are once again, and this time we're interviewing Cristina Barbosa, who is an RJ facilitator based in London. Hello, Cristina. How are you?
Miguel. Fine, thank you.
Thank you for your time with us today. Could you tell us firstly a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a Portuguese person living in London since 2005. I'm a sociologist, first of all, and I've been traveling the world for a few years before coming to London.
Okay, so what is your connection with restorative justice? Can you give us a bit of an idea of how you got to this point? Because you're a sociologist by training.
Yeah. So shortly after coming to London, I did a master's degree in criminology at the London School of Economics here in London. And there was the first time I ever heard about restorative justice. And immediately I got hooked to the project. I thought it was an amazing way of trying to bring people together and trying to sort it out, their problems. At the time, I asked around, how can I get involved? And I was told by a professor there, Tim Newburn, that the only way in London that I could get some experience would be through referral orders, which is a sentence that courts can give to young offenders on their first offence, and if they admit guilt at the first opportunity in court. So I joined Kensington and Chelsea Youth Offending Team as a panel member. So the people who would try to bring young offenders and their victims together, plus supporters, family members, their caseworkers as well, to try and solve the problems that would have led to their offending behaviour, and also to give something back to the victims of their crimes.
I think that's the essence of restorative justice, isn't it? It's tackling the origin, the root cause of conflict. And sometimes it has been said that offenders are sometimes themselves victims as well. So not in every case, but by all means, sometimes it happens that the person may have had a tough upbringing, may not have had opportunities, and may have been forced into criminality because of circumstances. And that's what you recognize through the youth offending team's work.
Yeah, true, but there is the reverse of that coin as well, if you'd like, because what we found in many cases would be that would be the excuse for young people not to take responsibility. So it was everyone's fault except their own.
Okay.
And what was very frustrating for me working there as a panel member was that I never saw a victim coming forward.
So you never had victim-initiated processes?
No, we never had victims willing to participate on those panels.
Okay.
It was always the offender there, many times mom, sometimes dad, the caseworkers, but the victims wouldn't come forward. And at the time, I couldn't quite figure out why, so I decided to join victim support to try and learn why were not they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I soon realized that on the victim side, no one knew about restorative justice, no one knew about these panels. Plus the fact that the timing of the referral orders, plus the environment at the youth offending team, were not inviting for victims. To say that from the moment a young offender would be given this referral order up until the moment they would have to engage in a sort of program of rehabilitation, if you'd like, there was a very constrained time frame.
Okay.
While for you to find a victim, to try and agree with them to come forward, there was not enough time for victims to digest this kind of new idea. Plus the fact that youth offending teams are there for young offenders.
Okay.
So it felt, putting myself at the position of a victim, it felt like going to the enemy camp, if you'd like.
That's very interesting, because you're talking about two organizations. You have mentioned youth offending teams, which, like you said, are there to support young offenders, and then you have victim support, which are there to support victims. And the two of them are unable to coordinate, to come together to bring a process like this to a successful conclusion in many occasions, or in fact, it never happened once you were there.
Yeah. So, and you could see also that although caseworkers there were doing their utmost, they were there for the offenders. And you need to think that in case of young offenders, their victims are also young victims. So it's the people you find in your school, in your class sometimes.
Their peers.
Yeah, so would you want to come forward in this kind of setting to agree something that you are not quite sure if the other person is going to follow it through, and still meeting outside at the school gate or inside the classroom or even in your neighborhood? So young victims were very scared to participate. So it's a whole kind of conditions that are not met at the right time for them.
I see.
So yeah, all combined meant that we never had victims in these panels.
That is extremely interesting, and I think it's something that we should take note of and perhaps look into and see if it can be addressed. I mean, it is always difficult to coordinate different organizations, and often you find that even the police, in some instances, do not cooperate as much as they could, or you have other organizations that do not believe in restorative justice. Others do, but do not have funding for it. So you have a lot of circumstances that in the end contribute to torpedo processes. Okay, well, that's extremely interesting. What about your next step? Because then you went to another organization.
Yeah, so in the end I left the youth offending team. I continued for a time with victim support. In the meantime, there was this organization called Mediation. They were already doing for quite some time neighborhood mediation, kind of neighborhood disputes and things like that. And they were training at that time. This is 2009, as far as I recall it. They were training a new pool of volunteers to deliver also restorative justice. So I joined in. I was trained at that time by them in order to start and do restorative justice with them. And for a while, of course, you know, these things take time to start. So yes, I had quite a few cases that went through preparation meetings with victims, with a couple of offenders. Then suddenly I had this hugely emotional conference on a murder case in a prison, a high security prison in the north of the country. And by that time, or shortly after, I heard about this new project called Pre-Sentence Pathfinder Restorative Justice Project. So in order to fill the gap that by now you had, so you already had in the UK restorative justice being possible every single step of the way throughout the criminal justice system course, if you like, except for the pre-sentence.
What was the objective?
This was a pilot scheme to see if it was possible to deliver restorative justice at this stage.
But so if you deliver restorative justice as a pre-sentence, that means that the person has already been to court, but the sentence has not been passed yet, right?
So the conditions are that this person comes to court, admits guilt, so that if not, that's the end of the matter, and is willing to participate. Then, if those two conditions are met, and the judge agrees to adjourn the case for the maximum of 6 weeks, we will then approach the victim or victims in order to see if they want to participate.
Okay, that's very
So
interesting.
it's also trying to shift restorative justice away of being initiated by probation, by the defendants or offenders themselves. That was what was happening up until then, and giving the victim more of a say if they want to do it or not. And only then, if the victim is willing to participate, we would then meet in a preparation meeting with the offenders and try to see if they are willing to get on board as well.
Normally, they have assessments for eligibility and suitability. And I guess eligibility is to do with the fact that they have certain types of crime, so not all of them are eligible, and then also they have to admit guilt and show remorse and show willingness to participate. So that would be eligibility, and then suitability, it depends as well on whether they have a sincere feeling that they want to make amends or things like that, right?
Historically, the only precondition that we need to require from offenders is that they admit that they have done what they have done. Because there is no purpose in trying to bring victims in if you have a person saying, well, I didn't do it, or it was not my fault, or whatever. So
Yes.
in those terms, you won't get anything. Everything else, it's up for the parties to want to participate.
Okay.
For all sorts of reasons. But if you have that basic condition met, which is, yes, I did this crime and I did
Admission
it to
of
that
guilt.
person, you can do it.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and of course, preparation meetings are there for us to see if both parties will get something from it, or if they want something else that restorative justice cannot meet. But we will discuss every single step of the way with both parties. We don't cut it from the start.
I see, that's very interesting. So, what sort of thing are you looking to do at the moment? Because you mentioned to me before that you were looking for new opportunities, you were looking for something else to do. Are you still involved in CALM?
I'm still with CALM, although because CALM only recently secured a new 5 years of funding, so I expect things to be picking up with them soon. But at the moment, I see, specifically in London, that things need to be consolidated. What do I mean by this? I've heard and participated in some projects, so I feel that at this moment in time, in London, you have a huge provision. You have many facilitators, you have many trainers, you have the structure. I think it's a question of building up on top of that. I would love to see all these different organizations that have had or still do bits and bobs of restorative justice coming together and try to build up on
perhaps coordinate a bit more.
Exactly. Plus the fact that I feel that you have many facilitators, some with many years of experience, others who had never had the chance of having any preparation meeting and not a conference. So you need to give them more to do. And finally, the question of accreditation, I think you need to give more opportunity for facilitators to get there. Right now, you have RJC running some courses for people to get accreditation, but you have those who can pay for those accreditation to come forward, or you have companies that are paying for them to get accredited. You have many others that might be thinking, well, I've been volunteering my time, my expertise for so long. It doesn't seem very fair that I now also have to pay for the accreditation.
So you sort of left, you feel that some people are left behind.
I fear that you will create a two tiers kind of system, and you will lose fantastic professionals that are out there. So I would urge RJC and other authorities and organizations to look very carefully to the accreditation problem.
So that people with talent and vocation can access it rather than just people with
more
funding.
Easily. Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Well, Cristina, thank you very much for your time. That has been extremely interesting. I wish you all the best in the future. I hope you find your project here in London, and the one that suits you and the one you enjoy participating in. You have been volunteering for such a long time. You have such a full of experience and also knowledge. So we wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Miguel.